You stated that morality is derived from the Bible. Where do you believe that atheists get their morality, and do you even think that they have a morality?
I might just make a very provocative statement right now and say that has led to massive moral confusion. Because depending on what animal species you choose, you can base any morality on it you like.
Can morality be properly explained without God? And I don't mean a trivial explanation like saying morality is whatever you want it to be, bro, or just morality is an emotional response to when we see something evil. We just go, boo, I don't like to see a heinous murder. No, we're talking about an actual explanation for the fact that there are good and evil choices that exist. Like Mother Teresa is actually objectively a better human being than Adolf Hitler. But how do you explain that? Can you explain that properly or legitimately on atheism, or do you actually need God as a grounding for morality? Another question that is related that I see a lot of confusion about is, can atheists be truly moral? In this rare Q&A, because I hardly ever see John Lennox in a Q&A capacity, Dr. Lennox disentangles fact from fiction and makes a case that is hard to ignore. Let's dive in.
Hi, Dr. Lennox. You stated that morality is derived from the Bible. Where do you believe that atheists get their morality, and do you even think that they have a morality?
Okay, that'll do. And I'll deal with that question first because it's extremely important. I didn't say morality is derived from the Bible. And Christopher Hitchens used to say that was theft wrong only when God thundered from Sinai? What I said was that every human being, whether they believe in God or not, is a moral being made in the image of God. And so therefore atheists, like Christians and anybody else, and people of any faith or none, all have moral concepts. And this is enormously important because the research that's been done, and Lewis, in a book that everybody ought to read, that was written in 1940 called The Abolition of Man, in the appendix to it, he points out that all around the world, if you look at different tribes and nations and philosophies, pagan religion, all sorts, you'll find a common core of morality. Respect for the elderly, truth, don't murder, and so on. You'll find variations, how many wives you can have, etc. But there's a core of morality around the place. Now that's exactly what I'd expect to find, and this is the point that Lewis makes, if there is a God who has given each of us a moral compass. Now the Bible refines that and sharpens it, but it doesn't first appear there. And it's very important that nobody goes away with the impression that I'm saying that atheists cannot behave. Indeed, you will discover, even reading the Bible, that sometimes pagans put to shame people who claim to know God. That's because we've got this moral compass. So that's enormously important. We've got that moral ability to judge. And indeed, Jesus, when he made his appeal to the world, he asked people to use their moral judgment on what he did. Was it good or was it not? In other words, his whole attitude to them presupposed that they had got moral concepts that they could use. And I'll add another thing to that, because this is a big topic actually. Dostoevsky famously said, "Jeśli Boga nie, to i wsio pozwolone," which means if God does not exist, everything is permissible. He did not mean that atheists were incapable of behaving morally. What he did mean, though, was this: that there's no rationale, there's no rational justification for morality if God does not exist. Now that's such a big statement. I have hinted at it through this evening, and I've written about it in Gunning for God. But it's a very important thing, because what I was arguing with Dawkins is precisely this, that if you follow naturalism to its logical consequences, you end up without the concepts of morality. And one of the big questions in our civilization, and it's so obvious, is that if you dismiss a transcendent God, you've got to find an alternative source for morality. So where are you going to find it? You're going to find it down here, in here, so to speak. So you're going to either find it in raw biology and genetics or in the social dimension. And I might just make a very provocative statement right now and say that has led to massive moral confusion. Because depending on what animal species you choose, you can base any morality on it you like. And that's the problem. Darwin was a kindly old man with a beard, and he saw ants cooperating, and he said there's a basis for altruism. Spencer saw nature red in tooth and claw and talked about the survival of the fittest. And people have applied both of those systems in morality, as you know. So, ladies and gentlemen, here's a challenge coming out of this question. What is the base for your ethical standards? Where does morality come from? This is a major question that I would address, of course, by referring back to my Christian faith that gives the rational justification. It doesn't give the pure source of morality, because morality is built into us at that basic level by God himself. Now, that relates to the previous question, that I'd said that there's a human desire for morality. I didn't actually talk about a human desire for morality. When I used the word desire, I talked of a desire for justice on a moral basis. But you asked me to reconcile that concern for morality with the awareness that we go wrong and we face our own sinfulness. Now that raises, of course, a question that every religion has got to face. Because if there is a God who is holy and just and true, then one sure thing is, I've certainly not even kept my own standards, let alone his. So what's going to happen to me when the judgment comes? That is a very real question that proceeds out of that. You don't have to reconcile the difference. We've got this moral compass, but it judges me. That's the problem. It judges me. And therefore, we've got to raise the question, seriously raise it. Where does that leave me in relationship with God?
So this idea that God gave us moral conscience before he gave us any kind of law or revelation of what is good and bad in a practical sense from Sinai and the Ten Commandments and the Torah and the Bible or anything like that, I think is a really fascinating point, that morality is actually built into every human being, regardless of one's geography or belief system, that we are inherently or essentially moral creatures. Now, of course, what's interesting about that as well is that conscience can be seared or bent or broken, but that fact that we even use words like seared, bent, or broken itself tells us that these cases are the exceptions that prove the rule. All people do bad things, and some people call bad things good things, but neither of those mean that there really aren't good and bad things in the first place. That moral distinction still holds. The difference between good and evil is not arbitrary, subjective, or personally based. It's actually real, and we can be right or wrong about it, but our opinion about what is good or evil doesn't actually turn an evil thing into a good thing or a good thing into an evil thing. What stands out the most is Christianity's unique and extraordinary offer that we don't earn acceptance through perfect performance. For it is by grace you've been saved, through faith. This is not of yourselves. It is a gift of God, not by works, so that no one can boast. It acknowledges what is true, which is that nobody's morally perfect, but at the same time it says the solution isn't going to be try harder to become morally perfect. The solution is going to have to come from outside of the individual. There's going to have to actually be a legitimate rescue of some kind, given the nature of the human condition. And then here enters in the unique Savior, Jesus Christ, who exchanges with us innocence for guilt in a way that is simply not on the table in any other religion, and yet is precisely what, if we're honest with ourselves, we all need. Would love to hear your thoughts about this in the comments. I hope you guys enjoyed Lennox, as well as this little, my attempt at giving some kind of a wrap-up commentary. But I think these topics are so important. They're not just theoretical. They're not just for views on YouTube. These are extremely important topics. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next video.